Welcome to another edition of In the Weeds with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's number one casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. And speaking of good times, Andrew Schlecht is here because the Oklahoma City Thunder are playing in the NBA Finals.
It's hard to believe, man. We're just thinking about the Thunder potentially lifting a trophy and having a parade here. Just it doesn't even feel real, I mean, it's something that we've thought a lot about. Obviously, there's been so many stars and so many good teams here through the years, but it's wild to think that it's potentially happening here. But yeah, very exciting time.
Well, we got the Pacers. Is it the two best teams meeting in the finals? Is that what we ended up with?
Oh, no. Sometimes a man's internet goes out right when you start an interview with him. It happens. It happens. You okay?
Adapt and overcome, right? Adapt and
Listen,
overcome.
listen, you got to adjust. You got to make adjustments throughout podcasts and throughout the playoffs. So this is what we're doing.
Well, here we are. We got the Thunder, we got the Pacers in the finals. Did we end up with the two best teams?
No, we did not end up with the two best teams. We ended up with one of the best teams. The Pacers are a good basketball team, and they've been really good since the turn of the new year. Um, However, I think that they have a lot of flaws that the Thunder can exploit, and I am interested to see what that looks like. The Eastern Conference is pretty weak overall, I think, and I do think like the best teams in the East were certainly the Celtics and the Cavaliers. The Celtics had injury issues, obviously, and maybe more than that too, because I do believe that the Knicks beat them fair and square. I wouldn't say the injury was the only reason that they lost that series, but ultimately, I don't think we ended up with the two best teams, and maybe the two best teams are in the Western Conference too. So I do think that this will be a good matchup. I do think that the Pacers are a good NBA team, but I do not think that these are the two best NBA teams.
Pacers want to play fast. Just ask the Knicks. I mean, I
Yep.
don't know how many baskets they had just throwing a hit ahead pass and the Knicks just not getting back on defense. But Andrew, don't you think the Thunder will be happy to play fast, like to play that style of game?
100%. The Pacers actually played a slightly lower pace of play than the Thunder did throughout the playoffs. So the Thunder would love to play fast. I mean, go look at that Nuggets series and then ask me, would you rather play fast or would you rather play like that? Because the Nuggets put them in the mud. And there were times where they did not know how to respond and they did not know how to navigate the zone defense. And the Pacers want to pick up, they want to go. They create fast break opportunities out of made baskets from the opposing team, which is not common in the NBA. And so the Thunder will be ready for that. The Thunder don't do a lot of offensive rebounding. This is not a team that crashes the boards. This is a team that gets back. So I don't think that they will have a problem with the way the Pacers want to play.
Yeah, I know whenever you look at it, there's plenty of star power in this game. And, if either team's going to win a championship, those stars have to perform. But I don't know, call it the X Factor guys, however you want to label it. Who are some other players, maybe from each team, that could really tell the story?
Yeah, I think from the Pacers side, Andrew Nimhard, who's their other guard that starts alongside Tyrese Halliburton, is a really big factor. He's another Canadian. He's a guy that defends really well. He defended Brunson really, really well in that final game in the Eastern Conference Finals. And he can shoot it. He can run a pick and roll. he's the second point guard on the court, really. So I think that he's a huge factor for them. And then Aaron Nesmith, who has been shooting lights out from three for them throughout the playoffs, is dealing with an ankle injury that has certainly hampered him. And I am curious to see how he looks. Certainly come game one, I assume that he'll start to get better as time goes on. But those two guys are probably the biggest factors for them. Like they're the reason, they're part of the reason that they're here, is that they've shot the ball so well. They play a really high level of defense. So I think those two for them. And then for OKC, I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's Jason Wallace and Alex Caruso off the bench. Those guys have changed games. They've changed series. The fact that you can put those guys who are smaller guards, like those guys are not impressive looking guys. If they just like walked into Chili's one day, you wouldn't even turn your head. But I think that those two, the way that they change the game defensively, offensively, a lot of times they get the ball moving a little bit more. I think those guys are going to be huge for OKC in this series, just because they want to play fast, and those two would love to play fast with you.
Offensively, Tyrese Halliburton is the straw that stirs the drink for the Pacers. How do you think, what do you think the Thunder strategy is going to be against Halliburton? Like, is that just, hey, Lou Dort, here you go, make his life miserable?
Yeah, I think that they will. I mean, the Thunder don't love to throw blitzes right off the bat, and so I think that they will try one-on-one with Dort to start. And Halliburton traditionally has not really played well against the Thunder. In the two games they played against OKC this year, he averaged 11 points per game. And so he has not played well against OKC, and some of that is obviously the Thunder have the three of probably the best 7 point of attack defenders in the NBA on their team, and he hasn't really had to deal with that, honestly. Like, you look at what the Knicks could bring, like they have good long defenders, but their rangy defenders are better against forwards. They don't really have somebody that can really defend Halliburton at a high level. And so I think that they will take away a lot of like the passes that he wants to make, which is kind of what they did to Jokic. They made Jokic a scorer. They made Jokic not somebody that was going to dominate with his passing. Jokic doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He turned the ball over a ton against OKC. He actually has the most total turnovers in the playoffs, and a lot of it came from that series against the Thunder. And so Halliburton is an elite point guard that does not turn the ball over. The biggest tell for me in these first couple games, if Tyrese Halliburton turns the ball over even 2 or 3 times, which is a lot for him. Like he has a lot of like 0 turnover games. But if they can get him to turn the ball over at all, I think that this could be a really fast series. But I do think that the pressure that they will give him, basically 94 feet, he hasn't felt that throughout the playoffs. There haven't been teams that are going to be as aggressive with him as OKC will be. And so I'm really curious to see how he reacts to that.
Summer is here, and there's no better way to fire up your cookouts than with Didier Ranch's steak burgers made from 100% premium cuts of steak. These burgers are the real deal. Juicy, flavorful, and packed with that rich, beefy taste that you love. Plus, they're shipped right to your door, so you can spend more time doing what you love and less time shopping. Head over to DidierRanch.com now and use code SOONER for a special discount on your first order. Get ready to taste the best burgers you've ever had. Proudly raised 100% in Oklahoma. Didier Ranch, steak in every bite. Yeah, and I think it's kind of maybe a similar situation with Siakam. You know, with the crazy length that he has, like 6'8", you know, he's really long. I don't know initially what the best defensive matchup is, but maybe it's kind of the same thing where they throw multiple different guys at him, and maybe they find something that works, but maybe that's going to be the strategy all along, is just continue to throw a bunch of different defenders his way.
Yeah, I think that we'll see J-Dub start on him. I think Caruso will get that matchup at times. I think that the thing with Siakam that makes him such a great player is that he can really get to the hoop. And the Thunder, their number one thing they want to shut down is guys getting to the rim. And I'm really curious to see how he handles that because they just don't allow it. I mean, look at Anthony Edwards. He's playing in a crowd. Every time he got into the paint, it was one, it was exhausting for him to get there. And then two, he couldn't shoot it in there. Like there was no room, so he had to spray it out. And so is Siakam going to be as effective against this Thunder defense that loves to pack the paint? They don't allow anything easy inside, 5, 6 feet. And so Siakam's not a guy that's going to take 10 threes in a game, which I think plays to the Thunder's advantage. It's when you get those guys hot from deep where I think the Thunder can get in a little bit of trouble. But that's not Siakam's game. He loves the dribble drive game. And so I do think J-Dub is really well suited to guard him. Dub has guarded a lot of bigger forwards and guys like this that like to drive. And so I do think that he'll get the primary assignment. We could see some Kenrich Williams in this series too. I think Kenrich is another guy that could go and play for 5 minutes on Siakam and hold up okay. So I think they have the right kind of guys. And then also the Thunder love to throw smaller guys on these bigger forwards too. So Cason Wallace had Julius Randle in the last round. And I think that we'll see him, try to bother Siakam too. Getting these smaller guys that have really good hands, kind of get up underneath these guys that like to put the ball on the floor and make them uncomfortable. Maybe the source of turnovers isn't Halliburton, but maybe it's Siakam. Maybe it's Aaron Nesmith who can kind of be a guy who likes to do a little bit too much. Maybe it's Ben Mathurin off the bench who also kind of probably thinks of himself as a starter and likes to do a little bit more than he should. And so maybe that's the source of turnovers, and the Thunder just throw guys like Cason Wallace on them and generate them from there.
We saw Mark Daigneault be willing to go small in the Minnesota series and play Chet at the 5 and kind of limit Hartenstein's minutes. Do you think that's going to be a big part of what we see in this series against the Pacers?
Yeah, I really think that that's their fastball. I think that that's the way they want to play. The lineup with Cason Wallace in and Hartenstein out is their best lineup, and I think that we will see that a lot. We'll also see Caruso in the same place. I think that that's also a very effective lineup. So I think that we will see that a lot. I think that it makes sense against this Pacers team. They haven't quite found their footing with the double big lineup. So I don't know that I want to see what they do from the gate. I think they'll continue to start it. It's what's gotten them here, but it's only like a +4 net rating. And you have these lineups that have Chet at center that are like a +30, throughout the playoffs. And so I do think that they will start with the double bigs. And if the double big works, this series is over. Like it's done because their best lineup is coming in with Chet at center. But if the double big somehow works, then I don't give the Pacers a shot at all. But yes, I do think that we will see a lot of Chet at the 5. I think we'll see some of Kenrich at the 5. I think that is how they're most comfortable playing. And then offensively, I think it's just better for them. And then they can hold up defensively very well and generate more turnovers with those guys. So yeah, I think that we'll see a lot of Chet.
Sounds like from like what you're saying, there's a lot of different rotations and matchups that you're going to be watching right out of the gate. And game one, perhaps going to be a big tell for you. What's going to happen for the rest of this series? If the Thunder come out and dominate game one, that's going to maybe tell the story.
It definitely could. These games and the playoffs with this team have all the games have been so different. And there's been a lot of evolving throughout the playoffs. And the thing about the Pacers is Rick Carlisle is a great coach. I mean, I think he's one of the best coaches out there. I think he's certainly top 5. And so I don't know that game one will tell us what happens with the rest of the series necessarily. I think that, but I do think like it's important for the Thunder to go out and establish that. And remember the Thunder won game one of the 2012 finals too. And it certainly did not tell the story of what happened moving forward. So I think the thing that will be most telling though is if the double big lineup is effective. if they have an ability to, if the Pacers have an ability to adjust to it, because their other big men like Jarris Walker, who's a second year forward. I don't necessarily think that he was going to be a big factor anyways, but he's going to be out for games 1 and 2 for sure. And then you look at the other bigs like Tony Bradley, who was on the Thunder for a hot minute during their tanking years, is kind of one of their backup bigs. And honestly, he's more of like a fourth big on most teams. Thomas Bryant, same story. He had a really nice game 6, but he's not somebody that I would want to rely on if I'm Indiana. So yeah, I would say that I'd be cautious of making like big proclamations after game 1, but certainly if the double big lineup works, like that's the one that that's the thing I'm looking for most.
I know that you're trying your best to not be overconfident when it comes to this series because it's the NBA Finals, man, and Indiana's good, but just the Thunder have clearly been a better team than them all season long.
Yep.
What's your prediction? What are you thinking?
I think Thunder win this in 5. I think that they'll be hoisting a trophy here in Oklahoma City on June 16th is my prediction. So I think that they are a much better team than the Pacers. I honestly think the Wolves are a better team than the Pacers too. I think the Nuggets are a better team than the Pacers. I think the Thunder have seen their biggest test so far. Now it's a mental battle in my opinion. Like, can they overcome the hurdle of playing in the NBA Finals, all the attention that comes with it, all eyes on you kind of thing? I think they can. I think they will. Thunder in 5.
I like it. I got no complaints with that. If we could if the first championship you're able to wrap up at home, I think that would make it extra special.
No question. No question.
There has to be a down to dunk float at the parade, right?
Listen, I will do everything in my power to make that happen. I don't know if it will happen, but I will be a very squeaky wheel when it comes to that.
This is the last question I've got for you. Like, you guys started the pod in fall of 2012? So right after that Thunder Heat Finals?
Yep.
You've done, I looked at it, I think you've done nearly 1,400 episodes of Down to Dunk.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like the Thunder are about to win the NBA title. How does this feel for you, man? Like, there's been a lot of work that has gone into this thing for you, and they feel very, very close.
I think like the feeling that I keep coming back to is just gratitude. Like, I just have so much gratitude for the people that have listened for all this time, for the Thunder organization themselves, and how they've helped me in a lot of ways. To my wife and my family, and to the other guys that do the show. I have not done this alone. I just have this sincere gratitude when I just like stop to think about it, and just like the excitement for the city and for what it could do for the city and for this franchise. Yeah, man, I just have a lot of joy, a lot of gratitude.
I know it's an important week for you and your family, man. We're praying for your wife, and here's to hoping that the way that the Thunder plays makes it a little easier on you, man.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
You're the best, man. Come on, let's do it.
Get it.
Do it.
Let's go.